Anyone who has gazed down upon that thing, if you remember in school, they made it sound like it was the size of the Rock of Gibraltar. Believe me, it's not. But one of the reasons that we are down here, 25 of us were arrested. We were charged with various and sundry things. I got charged with loud and tumultuous rioting. There was nothing loud and tumultuous about that march until the police came. Then it became a little loud and tumultuous. But anyway, the Plymouth District Attorney, a gentleman by the name of Michael Spings, and for those who don't know, he is now the U.S. Attorney in Boston. And he has been directing the FBI, which of course works for the U.S. Attorney, to frame up, to harass members of the Boston political community. The name Chuck Turner comes to mind. The Boston City Councilor who represents Roxbury, which is one of the more oppressed areas in Boston. And the other day, the City Council on Monday was going to get together and vote to see if they could censure him, take his chair away, do whatever they needed to do. But the City Council, in the face of a whole bunch of his supporters who showed up at City Hall, backed down, and they refused to take any action. And we'll have to see how that plays out. But he needs our support. The people of Roxbury need our support. They are taking away the voices of the community one by one. And if we allow it to continue, someday our voice is going to be gone. So in the spirit of Crazy Horse, I think we should be supporting Chuck Turner and all other politicians that the FBI has decided to use trumped-up charges against. Well, I'm here to tell the tourists, everybody comes into Plymouth, they want to see America's hometown. And apparently this is. for whatever reason. They all come in and they want to see Plymouth Rock, and they want to see the Pilgrims, they want to see the Mayflower, and they want to see all these kind of things. And I'm telling the tourists, save your money, save your film. If you want to take pictures of what's going on in this country, and what's really important is not the fact of this rock, because Malcolm X summed it up when he said, we didn't land on Plymouth Rock, Plymouth Rock landed on us. So take a picture of the gathering here. You'll see all kinds of people from the four directions. And that's the beauty of National Day of Mourning. And we will be back here next year for the 40th National Day of Mourning. And as was stated on the Hill, I pray that Leonard Peltier is up there on the Hill with us. He needs to be here. I still want to remind you that we need to do everything we can to free Leonard Peltier and get him out of the iron houses. And to free all political prisoners. Munir Abu Jamal, you name them. Free all of the political prisoners because they do not deserve to be treated. They don't need to have the charges that were brought against them, which were nothing but a bunch of frame-ups. They don't need that. They need to be free. They need to be sitting down with their families on a day like today and enjoying a meal. So in the spirit of Crazy Horse, in the spirit of Metacom, free Leonard Peltier. Thank you. In 1997, the 25 of us who were arrested, and we negotiated a settlement with the town of Plymouth. And part of the settlement was this historical marker that you see here, and the one on Coles Hill. I hope you had a chance to see that one during National Day of Mourning. What this marker talks about is in 1676, what's known in the U.S. history books as King Philip's War. Metacom, or King Philip, was murdered in Rhode Island, and they cut off his head. And they cut off each of his hands, and one hand was sent to Boston, the other hand was sent to England, and his head was displayed on a pike, a pole, somewhere in this area, which is known as Post Office Square. They displayed his head for 25 years. And so when we negotiated the settlement, we said it's about time that they have all kinds of other historical markers in this town talking about this is where they stepped ashore, and this is where they did this, and this is where they did that. So we felt we should have a couple of markers that tell people what else happened here in Plymouth. On the hill, I said, you know, everybody sat down for that so-called first Thanksgiving dinner, and everybody enjoyed their little nut cups and all that neat kind of thing, you know, the appetizer. And then after that, everybody went home. Everyone lived happily ever after. I don't know if they watched any football games. I really don't. You know? But anyway, so if you get a chance, go buy that marker and read. Read about what the Pilgrims actually were all about. They weren't about coming over here and having all of this freedom and all of this kind of stuff. They weren't about that at all. They were hoping to come over here and make lots of money. Well, they didn't make lots of money because, fortunately, there's no gold in them thar hills of Plymouth. If there'd been gold and oil and so forth, a lot more of us would have gotten wiped out. And I guess I'll just save people some time. I'll read the text. It says, after the Pilgrims' arrival, Native Americans in New England grew increasingly frustrated with the English settlers' abuse and treachery. Metacomet, or King Philip, a son of the Wampanoag sachem known as Massasoit, or Osamequin, called upon all native people to unite to defend their homelands against encroachment. The resulting King Philip's War lasted from 1675 to 1676. Metacomet was murdered in Rhode Island in August of 1676, and his body was mutilated. His head was impaled on a pike and was displayed near this site for more than 20 years. One hand was sent to Boston, the other to England. Metacomet's wife and son, along with the families of many of the Native American combatants, were sold into slavery in the West Indies by the English victors. So this town doesn't have a real pretty history when you think about it.
Yeah, look at that.
Yeah.
This,
Wow.
yeah.
That's
Yep. Krishna Kash, Mutapu Huni, Akuni, Lutasu Kashishi Halishu, Sundance, Thunder Voice, Takashna, Tatanku, Ayota Kachashniwa, Kashno.